Welcome back to Running with Coach Tori.
And Jeff.
And we are bringing you the running news of the week, whether it's to entertain you on your long run or to give you something to chat with your run group about. We have got you covered. Well, last week was all about Boston. I feel like this week will be a lot about London. But before we do that, I was going to do just running trivia, and I was being kind of lazy, so I asked ChatGPT to come up with like running trivia. Oh no, it says my internet's acting funny. No. Is it looking like it's acting funny?
No, it's all good.
Oh, well then, never mind. Scratch that. But it was like such silly trivia questions, so I switched it to this or that. Because like the trivia questions it was coming up with was like, what's the name of the race that's 26.2 miles? And I'm like, oh, this isn't even going to be fun to play trivia for that.
I know that one. I got that one.
Well, and I was like, can you come up with like harder questions? Then it was like, who broke the 4-minute barrier for the mile for men? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be such a silly trivia. So we switched to this or that. And we've actually done, if you remember, I think we did like 2 or 3 podcast episodes on our old podcast that were kind of like a this or that type debate. So we'll get into it. There's nothing crazy. So you just pick one or the other, and you can justify it if you would like. So morning run or evening run, and I feel like we've talked about this a bunch in all of your updates on running.
I'm definitely evening run 100%. I think morning run people are weird.
Hi, weird over here, as we know. But yes, morning run. I got to get it done because it never happens at nighttime. Trail or treadmill? I feel like we also talked about this one on our one episode.
Trail, much more fun. Treadmill, I do more often.
I was going to say treadmill is unfortunately more feasible, but if you could pick, trail for sure.
Well, treadmill has a huge advantage for speed work.
For sure.
Because you really can measure and set your speed for, I want to do like some intervals. So I do love a treadmill for that purpose.
I feel like I get too in my head about like not controlling the speed that like I feel like it's going so fast that then I like panic. So I don't have a treadmill like that. But when I used to try to do them like at the gym, I would always be like, it's going too fast. Oh no. Yeah, dumb. So, but I know a lot of people do that. 5K or half marathon?
Half marathon is, I think, a great distance. I don't really like a 5K. 5K, I found with a few times I've run a 5K is you hurt in the first mile and the next 2 miles are brutal. I think a 5K might actually be harder than a half marathon.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I like a 5K because I like shorter distances, but, and like, I feel like anybody can just pick up and do it, which I do like, but it's like, yeah, if you're running a 5K, anytime I've run a 5K, like, I hurt the whole time, then I go home and I have like that cough, I don't know, like, maybe because I don't do half marathons as much, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a fun little thing.
Yeah, I have to learn how to casually go out and do a run. Like every time I do one of these quote races, and I shouldn't be trying to race anybody because I'm not good enough to race. But every time I do one of these marathons, 5Ks, I figure out what my optimal time could be in theory, and then I run to that pace. And inevitably, every marathon I've ever done, the 20-mile mark, my body seizes up because I am not in the kind of condition that I can do my optimal, or I didn't hydrate, or I didn't do the right nutrition. So I always fail in some regard, and it exposes those weaknesses. Just go out and casually, just go out and enjoy it.
Yeah. No, and I feel like that's maybe why I like half marathons and stuff too, because it's like I never have an expectation. So I'm just like, well, I'm here, I'm going slow, I feel like we're gonna have the same answer on this one too. Solo run or group run? You're gonna have to say solo. You've never done a group run, right?
Oh, solo run in a heartbeat, yeah. Never done a group run. Besides track and field when I was in high school and college. But again, after being forced to do one, I've never done one.
Right. Yeah, I kind of agree, even though like the idea of a group run does seem appealing sometimes, but I just can't. Music or no music?
I don't typically do music, but I do like music. I think there's a real benefit to losing yourself in music and getting motivated. So I do use music for like maybe a marathon or a half marathon, but typically I'm just for entertainment podcast. I'll do a podcast.
Yeah. No, I agree. Today I'm going to be running with no music because I forgot my headphones. And I'm kind of bummed. I'm like, oh, I really do like listening to stuff when I'm running. Let's see. These are all, yeah, we'll skip a couple. And then post run smoothie or post run coffee?
Uh,
I think I know the answer.
I'm neither. I would never make a smoothie because it's too much work for me. Um, if I had to choose, I'd go coffee. If I theoretically did a morning run, it would be
Oh,
coffee.
right. Right. Yeah, you're not drinking coffee after an evening run, hopefully. That makes
Now,
sense. All right. Well,
actually, do you do smoothies? Because I do not. I don't make a
so I
smoothie. I've never made a smoothie.
I do sometimes, and I was actually thinking I need to start smoothies again just because I get so I'm so weird about fruit. Like I don't like fruit that's already been cut. I don't like when the fruit fruit just gets it's so picky. If it's not like an apple, it's berries, man. They get me. There's just so much inconsistency. I sound like a little kid right now. So I'm like I got to just do smoothies. But like you said, like it feels like it's a lot of work. And I just sometimes just can't. So but I have been thinking I need to get back on like a smoothie kick of some kind to get now that it's like hot and stuff. I'm like, I need to get a little more fruit and everything, but I just don't love it. So coffee all the way. But yeah, if it's later in the day, then it's water. Um, the only story I found this week, because I know you have some good stuff, was talking about how more people are running now than ever before. And I was like, okay, and it was like, oh, and we're going to tell you why. And you know me, I'm always getting sucked into these clickbaity titles. And then I'm just like, tell me why, right? Um, but so basically, it seemed like the article was talking about like running for charity, running for causes, which is like, we see that a lot, right? Like almost any 5K that you would sign up for, it's not just like, we have this 5K, it's like a 5K raising money for whatever, or a memorial for whatever, or something. So basically, they're attributing that to like why more people are running than ever is like for a cause, for money, blah, blah, blah. So then I was like, let me look at some statistics on the increase in people running more than ever. Because I also was kind of like, they weren't actually using any like real numbers in what I was reading. It was just like everybody's running because everyone's doing charity, which is great. So between and this is also crazy, and I'm sure this is just like a thing that happens to people as you get older. But I was like, show me running statistics for the last 50 years, and it was like 1970 to 2020, and I was like, 1970? What do you mean? 50 years ago was 1970. But I'm sure that's like not a unique phenomenon, right? Um, so yeah, so 50 years ago was in the 1970s. Um, and in the early 1970s, it was the first quote running boom, which organized road racing was kind of a niche, and less than 25 million Americans consider themselves runners. And I still feel like that seems like such a high number, but I guess maybe I don't have perspective on like how many people are in the world. I don't know. And
That
then by
sounds
late,
really high to me. I mean, I would have said it was single digits.
right,
Yeah.
right, okay, so I'm not crazy.
No.
Um, So by the late 2010s, over 60 million Americans reported running or jogging regularly. And then, of course, we know COVID caused a running boom. Over 28% of new runners started during the pandemic. So that I feel like I kind of all anticipated that kind of growth. And I know that like COVID was a real running boom. For marathons specifically, fewer in 1972, fewer than 25,000 Americans ran a marathon. In 2013, over 550,000 marathon finishers in the US. In 2023, numbers are climbing again post pandemic with 400,000 to 450,000 marathon finishers expected in the US. So I guess in 2023 actually was higher than now. That kind of seems weird. Um,
Yeah, that does seem weird. I wouldn't have predicted there's been a change, but maybe with the pandemic, it bumped up and now it came back down a little bit. So
yeah, maybe
not sure.
races are like, because like I know like Boston has
Oh
like
yeah,
more things you have to qualify for, so maybe just like less people are even able to run these big races now. And then here's where the running for charity statistic happens. Running for charity exploded in the 1980s after the success of London Marathon charity model. It's a step. Oh, today it's estimated that $1+ billion is raised annually worldwide through charity running events. Major races like London and New York City marathons, up to 40% of runners are charity runners. Then I also, and then I will stop with my boring statistics reads. Looked up hiring running coaches because I feel like, again, post pandemic world, like everyone is a running coach, myself included, and like people all have running coaches. So between the 1970s and 80s, it was rare. It was mostly just for elite athletes, which I kind of expected. And then 2000 onward was the rise of online running coaching with the apps and virtual trainers because now like you have the Garmin, the Nike, all have like their own little um, training things built in. But it says about today about only 8 to 12% of serious, I don't know what a serious amateur runner would be, but serious amateur runners report working with a coach. And then again, it says it's even more popular after the pandemic because of virtual options. Um, I honestly was going to expect that to be a higher number just because I feel like everybody I talk to like has a coach or had a coach at some point. Um, So I guess I was just kind of surprised, but I guess there's just people who like go out for a run and maybe don't even talk about being runners. Um,
yeah. I think it's probably that phenomena. Like when you end up doing an activity, you end up believing everyone does that same activity, right? You're a coach. I have a coach, which happens to be you, and therefore, I think it feels like maybe everyone has coaches. So,
yeah,
but yeah, maybe it's like probably reality is there's a lot fewer people using coaches. I never used
yeah,
one
no,
before until most recently.
right. No, I know, and I'm like, and I don't think it makes sense for everybody necessarily, especially like financially. But um, no, I feel like maybe it's just because like people in running groups or people who would want a running coach. Because I'm like, I feel like I'm constantly seeing in the running group I'm a part of always being like, who has a coach for a marathon? Who has a coach for this? Who has a coach for that? Um, So yeah, so just some running statistics. And since London was mentioned, you want to give us the
Let's
London
go.
update?
Let's go with London update. Although I'm going to say London, I'll describe it a little bit um, like the Tokyo Marathon. Like first major marathon of the year was Tokyo, then Boston, now London, and London was the week after Boston. So a lot of those American elite athletes, um, on the men's side certainly, they were all ran Boston. They did none of them ran London because it's a week later. So I felt like it's certainly a lot of the elite world athletes were in London. So, but there were no men American finishers in the top 10. I think there was one woman in the top 10, but it was a name I didn't even recognize on the women's side. So, uh, I'd say it was for me as an American and probably more focused on the American athletes. It was a little bit of a non-event. It wasn't a world record for the men. It theoretically was a world record for women, but it was a world record for a woman's only race. So the women's world record is 209. This was 215. So when I saw it was a world record, I was a little bit confused. And the record is the fact that the 209 was run in a mixed group. So you can have men pacers and that kind of stuff that help pull the women along. And I say that without any kind of judgment. Um, but I think in a women's only race, there's the pacers obviously can't keep pace for that. So you're on your own. But 215 was the time for women. It wasn't, again, it was with Osefa, and she was the former world record holder before Chepengedich, I think, took it from her. So Osefa had it at 211. Um, Chepengedich just lowered it to 209 recently in the last year. So 209 is a world record, but Osefa is certainly recognized as one of the top two world athletics marathon women champions. So again, I wasn't going to go too deep into it. The other thing I think that was part of the story was Iliad. Um, I'm blanking on his last name.
Kipchoge.
Yeah, Kipchoge. Thank you. Um, he was in the mix, so he was in. Anyone doesn't know, Kipchoge was is the best marathoner recognized maybe of all time. But end of his career in the last year, he hasn't done well in a lot of the majors. However, this one here, he was in the mix. There was a pretty big group of maybe 10, 11 athletes on the men's side that were running in the main pack. And he was with them through 30K, right? Three-quarters of the way through the race. Now, he did get, I won't say dropped, but there was a surge at the 20-mile mark range, and he couldn't match it. He dropped to maybe eighth, ninth, or 10th, finished sixth. So he actually came back, which is a little bit of I think, kudos for him at 40 to be able to come back and still finish in the top six at a world marathon major.
Oh yeah. And I mean, was it the Olympics? He did like he had to drop out of one, not that I feel like within the last year, like he couldn't even finish an injury or something.
Paris, yeah,
It was
abdominal,
yeah,
yeah.
right. So I mean, it really is like he's just so incredible to watch, and anyone who hasn't seen, I feel like I've said this before, Breaking 2 or really anything, like watch anything about him, watch interviews with him, like he is just only inspirational. Like there's nothing, I feel like there's nothing bad to say. Even like his positive spins on like people of course are being like, oh, he's washed up, blah blah blah, and it's like, I mean, what do you want to see, right? Do you want to see him just leave and be like no longer be running just because he knows he can't win anymore? Like I think we'd much rather see him like still perform really well. He's still amazing. This is still his job. And like he just sees it in a positive way of like running is just like it's what he's meant to do, it's what people are meant to do. It can be so impactful. So it really is nice to watch him run, and I am happy to see that he didn't, I mean, I think he did really well, right? Like, couldn't be me, So, coming back from having to drop out of a marathon, not only just like physically, with an injury and stuff, but, the mental toughness it takes to like overcome those things is pretty incredible too.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt he's an amazing, amazing athlete. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I think society is there are groups of people who one love to build someone up and then also then love to see them fail. Um, but yeah, like you, I don't want to just see him just okay. He can't win a world major, therefore don't try. Just go away.
Right.
Just stop doing it. Like I don't want to see that. I still want to see him run. He's still, you can still recognize what he did do as a two-time Olympic champion. Um, it's quite amazing. So and still recognize him for how great he is and how phenomenal he was, even though he may not be the best in the world anymore.
Agreed.
On the women's side, the other thing I would just mention was Safan Hassan.
Oh, right.
She was in, yeah, she was in the mix too through probably like certainly more than the first half, also through three-quarters. But I love her. I think she's phenomenal. I think she's amazing. I root for her as my number one women marathoner. But she wasn't able to match the pace in the last 10K, and she did fade to third. Um, so yeah,
That's
so
right.
that's really all I had on London. Again, no big Americans, not world records other than the women's only world record. Um, and that's really the highlights I had. Anything else that you had on that one?
No, because I guess it was kind of just because maybe, there's no American like big top names or something, but I didn't see as much about it like I had, I couldn't get away from Boston news when I was looking at running things, but yeah, I mean, I saw things about Kipchoge, I saw about Safan, and that was kind of really, oh, and then the world record mostly because I saw people being confused about it. But yeah, I mean, really didn't see much else, and I definitely didn't watch it, so I really have no personal point of view on that.
All right. So then I'm going to jump to the second story I had, which was this was like a weird one. It's the 10 of the Americans' most epic and unique races. So you and I are always looking for unique stuff. So maybe
Yeah.
some of these we would do. So let me just give you a list of some of these and see if there's any of these that you really strike you as ones you would really want to do. So Bay to Breakers in San Francisco. It's a 12K. Don't ask me why anyone's done a 12K, but okay, it's 12K. Uh,
Okay.
this one's sort of the highlight of this one is around one. I'm sure the run in San Francisco is beautiful, but it's around costumes. A bunch of people in costumes. It's a bit of a festival atmosphere. I've already told you my stance on costumes is I hate them. So
Right.
this one's off my list.
I mean, I like a costume, but I don't like having to travel that far. So, at a 12K, I'm like, what are we doing? So, yeah, I'm out on that.
Okay. Number two is the Red Bull 400. This is a 400-meter run. However, it's a 400-meter run up a ski jump. So it is the steepest sprint. It's held in Ironwood, Michigan, 400 meters uphill. And the picture of it, for me, I'm a little bit of a height fear guy. So I don't know that I really love the idea of being on this ski slope where you're running up it and looking back down and thinking, oh my God, I've got a little bit of fear of heights.
Um, yeah, anyone who hasn't seen videos, I encourage you to look some up. I've watched videos of people doing it, and it is like kind of crazy, and it looks really hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
So
guess it
count
is
me out
high.
on that one too.
Yeah.
I was a 400-meter guy in high school and college, so I should be all set to do a 400 meters. Not
Yeah.
in.
Nope, not up the mountain, huh?
No, no. All right. And Portland's got a doggy dash fun run. It's a 1.5 to 2.5 mile run. I'm out again. Not I'm a cat guy, not a dog guy, and I think it's nothing but risk running with a bunch of animals that are dogs.
I was just about to say I famously broke my rib running inside our house with our dog, so that was what, like last year. So I might be out on that as well. And I feel like you can't trust people to have any amount of self-awareness or awareness of their own dogs. Like everybody thinks they have a good dog until you take it in public and then it completely acts like an animal as it is. But it's like, come on, no, no, know what you got here. And it's like if your dog's not a good dog, don't take them out. And I say this as a person who has a dog who's not a good dog. He doesn't go places. So, you
Yeah.
know, is what it
Yeah,
is.
because a lot of dogs are great maybe on that little casual run that you do in the park, but when you
Hmm.
put him with like 100 other dogs, he maybe not be that good dog anymore.
Right.
Some
Right.
dogs piss off other dogs.
Yeah. Pass on that run.
Yeah. The Yellowstone half marathon, I think that probably says it all. Yellowstone, I think it's probably beautiful. It's a lot of trails. So this one would be on my list as one to do. I think that would be a phenomenal one, but it's for the beauty. It's not necessarily unique, other than the fact it's Yellowstone.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of buffalo, though, no? Is it
Is there a
buffalo?
lot of buffalo in Yellowstone? It might be.
Yeah. Bison, maybe?
Yeah. No,
Gotta
I
watch out
think
for the bison.
they
Bears.
highlight in the at least the description of it. I think the let's see parks boundaries, trails, opportunity to see wildlife. Yeah, I think they also mentioned at some point in this thing around the vents that sort of go up the I don't know what they even call those things, right? The geyser, right? So
Right, right.
uh,
That
enough of
could be
that before I get in trouble speaking about things I don't know about.
cool.
Number five is a midnight sun run. It's Alaska, so with the summer solstice, it's as you may know, it's very bright in all night long in Alaska. So you can run at 10 o'clock at night, and it's basically like running in the day. And it's a 10K. You
That
in for that
sounds
one?
fun.
Yeah, Fairbanks.
I mean, that means nothing to me, but that does sound fun.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good time. Napa to Sonoma Wine Country half, and that's half marathon. Is number six on the list. Again, probably gorgeous, probably beautiful. Nothing about that really entices me, to be perfectly honest. I'm not a wine guy. So,
Yeah,
all
I'm
right. How
good.
about the Catalina Island Half Marathon? I've heard about Catalina. Again, I'm sure it's gorgeous, beautiful. Don't know if there's anything about that one that sort of says I need to do that one.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess running on an island could be fun.
Yep. All right, here we go. Empire State Building run up.
Nope.
I think that says what it is. It's basically going into the Empire State Building and running up the stairs to the roof. That one sounds. It's basically 86 flights, 1,576 steps. That just sounds like a you're going to be really, really sore the next day. No, no doubt. Maybe even for the next week.
Yeah, and you know what? That also, I get that it's a stairwell, but like sometimes really big stairwells like that freak me out. Like,
Yeah, when you
you
start
just,
realizing how high you are.
right. Right, and then you're like, okay, I fall and I'm just rolling. Like, even though it changes direction, I've seen people fall down stairs like that. Like, no thanks. Pass. Was that it?
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries that could occur. I think I just picture myself stumbling, hitting my face on the steps, and they look like they're metal steps.
Yeah, no thank you.
Run Malibu's number nine again. Half marathon, Run Malibu. I don't know that I'm in for that one. Count that one out for me.
Yeah.
There's an Area 13.1 half marathon in Roswell, Georgia. And if you don't know Roswell, Roswell is where
Aliens
there
are?
was a big conspiracy about aliens. Yeah, thank you. But I looked it up. I'm
Awesome.
thinking, I thought that was out in like the Midwest somewhere.
Well,
And
that's
yes, it's
Area
Roswell, New
51.
Mexico. Yeah, that's well, no, that's Roswell, New Mexico. Somehow Roswell,
Oh.
Georgia has hijacked, and they have an alien run
Oh.
just working off the name of Roswell. I don't think you
Oh.
can do that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
So near me, there is, I think it's actually probably coming up soon in Phoenixville. I think it's Phoenixville, Pottstown area. They do Blob Fest because that's where they filmed the whatever notorious horror movie, The Blob, and they do a blob run. But I don't think like there's any fake blob that chases you. Maybe there is.
Yeah, there's a in the blob. There's a diner, and I think the diner is there. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I've been by there, and it's certainly one of those big landmarks. I like the movie The Blob. That would be a thumbs up from me on The Blob.
Yeah, Blob Fest.
All right, so that was number 10. That's the end of my list on the unique runs. So there's probably a three or four in there that I would be interested in doing.
Yeah.
All right, so my final story is Nike announced that it is going to, you referenced, I think, a few minutes ago, Breaking4 which was a Nike project with Eliud Kipchoge to try to break the 2 hour barrier in the marathon. It actually failed. Ineos did it with Kipchoge, I think, a year or two after that, and they actually did do break the 2 hour barrier, even though it's not officially recognized. So what they announced is that they're going to use Faith Kipyegon, and they're going to try to break the 4 minute barrier for women. And right now, the world record is 4:07 for women in the mile. So to be the first, they did they do reach out and say that these are ambitious goals. For anyone who doesn't know who Kipyegon is, she is the 1,500 meter world record holder. She is the 1,500. She's the mile world record holder at 4:07. She is the three-time defending 1,500 meter Olympic champion. So she won in Rio in 16, Tokyo in 20, and Paris in 24. So she is the best in the world by far. So what do you think? Do you think it's even possible to go from 4:07 to 4 minutes? And by the way, they're doing this in June 26th. For anyone who wants to know, it's the day after my birthday. If you want to send me gifts and presents, um, so that's only what is it, 2 months away. Um, that's an incredibly ambitious goal.
Yeah. So I saw only like little headlines. I didn't read anything yet on it. Did they say like their plan? Maybe they're not going to like say what their plans were to make it happen, right? Just because. So I get that these are like elite athletes and they, it's hard to fathom their capabilities for me sometimes, right? But the marathon, you have so much time to make adjustments. I understand. Oh, now it's saying my internet's being crazy. Um, you have more time to make adjustments, or like they were constantly monitoring, pace and everything, and they were like, if you're behind by this much, like we have to catch up to this much. And you saw so much happening during the actual run, whereas in a mile, you don't. There's just not as much time to make all these changes. So yeah, I guess I'm just like wondering what all they're gonna do, because a lot of, with maybe not a lot, but there were also elements of like take fueling and like all those things for the marathon as well. So it's like, what are they changing or adapting to try to make this happen? I imagine there's gonna be pacers. I wonder if it's gonna be on a track or if they're gonna do a runway. Like, what things are they going to try to change for her to make the number happen? Because yeah, it's not, unless it's like bicarb or whatever, we've talked about this in the past, but yeah, it's not like she's going to be taking in gels at a certain intervals, different water, like, you know what I mean?
No, I actually know exactly what you mean. Like, so you think about the marathon, right? Certainly, the runners are not going 100% all out at any one moment, right? You could run; these guys can run a 4:20 mile during a marathon, even though the pace may average like 4:40, right? So they're certainly capable of stepping it up. Now, whether you could then finish the marathon when you do step it up halfway through. So there's what you're right. There's ways to adjust your pace to get on the right pace. I don't know that you can do that in a mile. It's so difficult. You're almost flat out. I mean, I know it's not a sprint, so you certainly could sprint for the next 200 meters, and obviously you would have nothing left to finish the next half of the mile. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to focus on one. I mean, Nike's doing it, so it's shoe technology. So
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to design a shoe that's going to get some press for them. Um, so I think that's probably number one on their list. And then yeah, I think they're going to do the fueling, the bicarb, which as we talked about on that episode, right? The bicarb certainly lends itself to something like the 1500 meter, because the benefits you do get are in sort of, I think that, you know, 30 seconds to 8 minute benefit is where that zone was. So certainly a 4 minute mile would be in that zone. So I do think there's things that they will do. I think there certainly will be pacers. I don't know that they did announce the location, so I think it is a track. I won't swear to that. But yeah, I think they've probably holding some of that stuff back to look at the design of it and figure out what can we do. So we'll see. I mean, I'm going to root for, but just to put it in context, right? So for the men, on the men's side, just to give you some sense of this, the men went from 408. So back in 19, let me pull it up real quick. On the men's side, the world record was 407 back in 1930,
3.
33. Thank you. 407. 33, 34 was it? It was 406, 407. It took 20 years to get to 359. So in 1954 is when Roger Bannister broke the 4 minute barrier. So you're talking about a 20-year period. It came down in those little increments. It got broken like 10 times in that window over that 20-year period to bring it down from 407 to under 4 minutes. And the women's record right now is 407.64, which Faith Kipyegon has. To think, that would tell me that it's impossible. Not impossible that it could be done. I think it's impossible that it could be done in the next 2 months. I do think that she'll break the world record. I don't believe they could get down to under 4 minutes. That's just my own view at the moment. I mean, I'd be shocked if they could get that kind of time off the world record.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge jump, right? It's a couple seconds a lap. Like, I mean, that is a lot. Yeah, and not to throw age into it at all, but you mentioned she's been the 3-time winner of the 1500 in the Olympics. So that means she's been at a peak. I mean, obviously you can't be at a peak forever, but like she's been at the top of her game for a long time. So you could argue that she's just better than ever, but you can also argue that like maybe not. I don't know. I think
Yeah, no,
that's tough.
yeah, I thought of the same thing. And I went back and looked at how old she is right now. I got thinking maybe she's in her mid 30s. She's actually only 31. I think she was
Oh,
born in 94.
okay.
So she won
Wow.
her first Olympics at 22. Um,
Well,
so
there you
yeah,
go.
so she probably. I mean, again, marathoners have a little bit more runway, right? Than your probably 1500 meters. You could lose your speed overnight. Now she did win the Paris Olympics, so I still think she's top of the game. But yeah, I thought the same thing, which is she might be falling off for her. But at least there's no current indication that that's the case. We'll see.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I'm excited. I'll definitely watch whatever they're putting out. I will say, like the whole again, and I'm on like my Eliud Kipchoge kick as per usual, but um, his biggest thing was after they didn't break two in the Breaking 2 documentary was like, again, watch it because he says everything way better than I did. But basically, like we showed that things are possible even though I didn't get there, like we got faster, we tried new things, we did more than we ever have done before. So even though we didn't get to the goal that we were looking for, we broke some kind of barrier. So every little inch I think is going to make a huge difference. And we've talked about this in the past with like breaking the 4-minute mile for men was like, or even recently with like all the world records, right? It's like once it's possible, everybody's on it, right? So it could be one of those things where she tries. If she doesn't get it, there's 3 more other athletes who are like, we're ready to try, kind of thing. And so then it is really only a matter of time. So it is going to be exciting, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, yeah. So that's all I've got on my end.
Yeah, you got a hot Florida run today.
Let's see. Today is a lifting day, so I did run yesterday, and it is hot here. It's in the mid 80s, so which again I love. I'm not running fast. I'm running a 5K, which sounds more impressive to me than a 3 mile run. I'm doing a 5K. I'm doing a 5K. I'm doing a 3 mile run,
Yeah,
5K.
there you go. Do you go to the gym or are you like working out in your garage for your lifting?
Garage. I actually cleaned everything out. I scrubbed the floor. It's perfect right now. I put a rug down to a little
Wow.
workout area. Oh yeah, I've got mats. I've got everything. I'm good to go.
How fun. I can't wait till next
Yeah.
year, whenever we actually ever get to Florida to
I
see.
will say that it's hot as heck. So if the temperature is 85 outside, it's probably 95 in the garage,
I
unfortunately. So
bet.
it is hot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, be careful. Have fun. I got to go on my no music run at some point in the near, like an hour or so. All right. Well, hopefully there's some news for next week. Make sure you subscribe, share with a friend, download the podcast, whatever it is. We would love to have more people listen to our nonsensical banter.